It is built into its history. It is part of the fabric that has come to define the city's image. A calling card, an MO, a reputation.
A little liberal Eugene, a little democratic Eugene.
I mean, some people thought it was kind of like Berkeley. You know, they used to kind of say Berkeley of the Northwest.
We have a pretty vibrant activist community here.
And it's a community whose roots are likely found somewhere on the University of Oregon campus, a place many people view as the grandfather of protest in our area.
We have a college, you know, a large university, which tends to be more liberal.
Certainly having a university makes it easier to congregate with people who are thinking that way.
You find students in our community involved in those discussions with the rest of us on campus and in the community.
From the Vietnam protests of the 60s.
We feel people should know more about military involvement, not just in this campus, but in other campuses.
To the Nike protests at the turn of the century.
And if they decide tomorrow that, oh shoot, we need another month to discuss this, I believe I'm going to jump off the building.
To the present-day call to arms against the Pacifica Forum.
Gives a voice to people who are acting out of hatred. That's not acceptable to me.
The university and many of its students have long played a key role in the activist field that accompanies its surrounding communities. The underbelly of discontent coming out of the U of O, though, has paled in comparison to the protests and clashes that would explode outside its borders. While decades past all include their own varying levels of protest, something changed during the mid-90s.
I feel when things really got going in Eugene, when things really started beginning to break loose, was this event called the Vortex in '95. That's when there was like 300 hippies in the park, and the EPD came in, decided to, hey, can't be selling your trinkets here. You gotta give me your name and I'll give you a citation. And all those hippies ran the cops out of the park. Throwing stuff at them, broke a window, skateboard through a cop window and everything. And so at that point, I think the police attitude towards some of, the counterculture type folks became more intense.
An intensity that would be matched by the folks who were starting to take to the streets.
We did have some crises kind of in the 90s with the environmental situation. People were taking to the streets and to the trees.
And in 1995, the trees they were taking to were found at Warner Creek.
That was a special time for me because it was the power of the mountain and the power of the people came down and just said, we ain't taking this poo.
This seems to be the place where the line does need to be drawn.
A 2-year blockade to keep the government from logging old-growth trees left standing in the wake of a massive wildfire in 1991.
To me, I found a lot of interesting characters and people and friends at Warner Creek and how they pulled that off and beat the feds.
Warner Creek was significant on a number of fronts. The victory provided momentum and confidence to the activist community as a whole, while the relationships and ideas born there laid the groundwork for events that would soon take place back in Eugene and beyond, and would blur the boundaries between simple protest, civil disobedience, and what the government would eventually label as eco-terrorism.
Throughout history, there have been people who have been wanting to be, on that kind of that fringe or that edge of things.
Standing on a corner with signs or circling a tree wasn't enough anymore. The movement, in some cases, had become much more aggressive, the tactics much more volatile.
I look at what they were attempting to do with their eco-sabotage and trying to draw attention to some of the things that were going on in this world. And I think they were trying to be a vanguard, and to try to encourage other actions like that.
A number of the Warner Creek protesters who lived in and around Eugene set out to make a statement. 1996, Jacob Ferguson and Sunshine Overacre attempting to light a forest ranger station in Detroit, Oregon on fire in the name of the Environmental Liberation Front. A year later, succeeding at a different station in Oak Ridge.
There was a lot of people in Eugene talking that kind of talk, and they were writing about it and everything, and there was only a few people who decided to move ahead and had the courage to go ahead and do some of those things.
Across Oregon and beyond, incidents continued to crop up. 1998, Vail, Colorado, a ski resort goes up in flames to the tune of $12 million in damage. One of the key players in that arson, Chelsea Gerlach, a South Eugene High School graduate. The underground movement was at full speed.
We are on the sidewalk!
Tension between activists and police in Eugene
Shame on you!
ready to explode.